here, and welcome to another Martelli Sew and Show subscription box. This is our third one, and this one's going out on April the 1st. So I have one in front of me. Here it is. Y'all ready to see what's inside it? All right, we're going to go ahead and crack her open and see what we have. What are we having today? Let's see, we got our roadmap here. In the box, it's going to tell us it's everything in the box. It looks like we got a fun little game going on here. Oh yeah, look at that, look at that. So be sure to check this out. Here's your instructions for what we're going to be making. What is this? I see this elastic, I see a button, I see some batting. There are 2 fat quarters in here. What is this? Some scissors, the big 11-inch, it could be a 10-inch. We got 2 different sizes that are going out, and the template. So that's what you're going to find in your box this month. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside, and I wanted to show you some other things that we're going to be having. So the fabrics are going to vary in the different boxes that you're going to get. So here is some of the different fabrics that you're going to receive, including the 2 that I've got right here. So everybody's going to get 2 fat quarters, and they're going to coordinate. It's either going to be this set, or this set, or this set, or this set. So you're going to have the fat quarters, you're going to have your piece of batting, you're going to need that, you're going to have a little piece of elastic, and your button, and your scissors, and your template, and the instructions. So what are we making with this? We are making a scissors pouch for you. And you're going to be doing it with the size of scissors that you have received. So today I'm going to be showing you the 11-inch scissors pouch, and we're going to be doing it with a button. Now if you have the snap gun, you could easily do it with the snap gun. But once you have it completed, your scissors are nicely and safely tucked inside. And very easy for you to carry, because you can just put your little button on here, put your little elastic on here, and you're going to sew a little handle on it. So you could hang this up in your studio, all the different sizes that you have, or you'd be able to take this on the road to travel. And because it's got the batting in here, it's going to be nice and protected. So you're ready to see some of the things that you're going to need to be able to put this project together. I have them all right here. You're going to need some clips. You're going to need the rotary cutter. I think the 28 works very good with this one, but also the 45 also works very well with the curves here. You're going to need some trimming scissors, or maybe if you want to trim away some of your excess material, you might want to use the duckbill scissors. Needle and thread is going to be needed for this one so that you'll be able to sew your button on. A little turning tool. I've got my little trusty knitting needle here. You're going to need a marking tool. I've got the little Martelli pencil here that has the little yellow or white, because it's kind of a light or dark fabric, so it's easier to see with that, or you could use a piece of chalk. I also have the Martelli marking pen. So this is the metallic marking pen. I'm going to be showing you, because I'm going to go over all the different things that's on the template to get you started. So I'm going to set some of this out of our way so we can get started in putting all of this together. This is a quick project. It doesn't really take a lot of time to make these, and I think they'd make a really nice gift for anybody that you might want to make these for, some of your sewer friends that you have. All right, so I'm going to set my scissors aside. Here is we're going to make this today out of these colors right here. So here is our template, and it has several different things on here that's a little bit different you might not see. It's the scissors pouch. It has a big line that goes all the way across right here. That is a fold line. You're going to need that because that's going to be the fold line to make this pocket that's on the bottom. And on the actual piece that I've got right here, this piece right here, I'll pull my scissors out. This is your lining that's on the back. This is the back. This is your lining, and here's this little pocket that you're going to be making. So everything will slip inside here. So you can use, I'm using batting with this one, but this is a project that you could easily use some fusible fleece with this project also. I'm going to go ahead and get my little metallic pencil out. I'm going to mark these because I want you to be able to see these. So I want to go ahead and just mark the edges of my fold line, because that's all I really need to see right here is my edges on the fold line here and here. You'll also notice that there are some spots where it says EP and SP. That's elastic placement, so I'm going to mark that one for my elastic placement. And the SP is my strap or handle placement, so I call it the strap, SP. EP for elastic placement, SP for your strap placement. So we're going to go through all the components and putting this together. It's not a whole lot of cutting that we're going to be doing, but you'll see how easy it is to go together. So let's go ahead and start with our main fabric. So when you're going to put this together, whichever fabric that you want to be the focal fabric, this piece right here, you're going to want to have this one on the back side. So you're going to lay this down. I have my selvage towards me, and I'm going to have my fabric laid down where I'm going to have it wrong side up. And then I'm going to take my lining fabric and I'm going to go ahead and lay it right side up, right on top. Move some of these things out of the side so you can see what we're doing. So I have the wrong side up on my main fabric. That's the one that's when you fold it over, you're going to be able to see this on the front. So this is going to be cutting out right now our lining in the back of the fabric. And I have this again with the wrong sides together, where I have the pretty side face down. This is the one I want to have folded over. So this is the back side of the scissors pouch. It's on the back side, and this is what I want my lining is going to be. So we're going to go ahead and have this laid out the way I want it to show. And I've got my selvages kind of lined up here on the bottom, and I have it laid out in front of me like this. So now I'm going to just take my template and I'm going to just set it on the bottom here. I'm going to make sure I don't have the selvages going to be cut in here. If you want it, you could go ahead and cut that little bit of selvage off. But I'm just laying it on here so I can go ahead and start my cutting. So I'm just going to set it down, and we're going to cut all the way around. So I'm going to kind of turn it a little bit, make it easier for me to get my cuts. And we're going to cut out the one piece. Got some of my browning material here. Let me go ahead and get that off. And cut this off. I'm keeping this together. I'm setting that just aside so we can go ahead and finish getting this all cut off. And then get this last curve cut out. All right. Now, before I lift it up or do anything, I need to go ahead and mark my placement for the elastic placement, and that's going to be done on that lining piece. So I'm just going to grab my marking tool or a pencil so I can mark that onto my lining. So it's going to need to be on the lining on the inside. I think it's going to be on the inside. Yeah, no, we're going to do it on the outside. So we're going to just set this down. I'm just kind of just moving it down just a little bit so I can mark where that elastic placement is. And if you want to, you could clip that maybe with some scissors. It'd be a little bit easier for you. But I'm just going to put a little clip there, or you can mark it, put a little dart there. That's where I know that my elastic is going to be right there in that spot. So this is all done. I have this marked, and I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to set it aside. Because now we've got to go ahead and we're going to cut our pocket. So whichever fabric that you choose to use for your pocket, I'm going to use the same lining fabric for my pocket. So now on the opposite side, I'm going to fold my fabric. And I've got to fold it down enough so that when I set my template on here, it completely covers it. So I'm going to fold it down just a little bit more. It's going to go on this end because it gets wider over here. And now I'm going to lay my template on here where I'm going to match up the fold now right there on where I marked it for my fold line. And now we're just going to go ahead and cut this section out right here. Making sure I've got all the fabric caught and it's on my fold line right where I want it. And we're going to go ahead and cut this piece out here. Now that is now our pocket all cut out. So those are our main components. The only thing left is to go ahead and cut our piece that we're going to use for our handle. So I'm going to grab my other piece and I was going to cut my handle out of this. You could also cut it out of what you have here. You need I'm going to make sure I get it right. You got to have a 3 by 10 inch strip of fabric. So I'm just going to grab this little piece right here. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut myself a 3-inch piece off. And this will be my handle. Actually have a 3-inch ruler here, so I'm going to flip this over so I can cut my 3-inch piece off. And we only need a 10-inch piece for this. So that's all the fabric cutting that we're doing. So we're going to cut ourselves a 10-inch piece off of this right here. All right, so all of our pieces for our pouch is all ready to go. So now we got to get our piece of batting back out. And it's over here. And we're going to go ahead and get our batting cut. So we have 2 pieces of the batting that we've got to cut. Go ahead and get everything out of my way so we can get the batting laid out. We have to have a piece that is cut on a straight edge, because that piece, we're cutting it just like we did the pocket, because that piece is going to be sandwiched in between the pocket piece that's in the fold. So we're going to sandwich that piece in here. So again, picking up your template and using a straight edge, line up your fold line, which you saw right here. And you're just going to line up right there like you did for the fold line for the pocket, and then we're going to cut this piece out right here. Go ahead and get this off. And we're going to get this cut out. So here's my first little hint. What I like to do is I like to take a little bit off of this edge right here. So I'm going to, now it doesn't say as in instructions, but I'm going to take off about a little bit less than 1/4 of an inch all the way off this top edge here. I'm going to find it's going to lay in here a little bit better. And then I will take a little bit off of each end here. And I'm going to take a little bit off of this end here. Now this is just a hint that I do to make it sandwich in there just a little bit better, and it's still just enough where it will still be caught when we top stitch it. So I take my little slivers and I'm going to throw those away, and we're going to open this up. And now where you had that fold line, you're going to take that straight edge and you're going to sandwich it right there in between. By just taking that little bit off, it's still going to be caught in the seam allowance when we're sewing, but it's not going to be having so much that we need to trim away. So I'm going to get this nested right up there against that fold, and then I'm going to fold this back over. And our next step on this piece now, which is all done, is we're going to do a decorative or just a top stitch all along this edge right here. Now we've got to get one more piece of batting cut. So we're going to cut a full big piece. So just lay your template on here however you feel you need to lay it on here, and then we're just going to cut all the way around. This is the piece that we're going to layer onto the outer piece right here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this on here, and we're going to get this cut all the way around. And that's all you need with the batting. Now, there are two spots still on here. We've got to do our placement for our strap. So before I put that under there, I'm going to grab my pocket piece and I'm going to lay this on here, and then I'm going to just slide it back just a little bit so I can go ahead and mark my spots for my strap placement. Just got to have to write it onto the actual onto the pocket, because that's where we're going to be putting it. Our strap is going to be right here on here. It's about a ½ an inch. It's between a ½ inch and 3/4 of an inch from the fold down and then up a little bit. Now you can adjust this a little bit if you want, but I'm just going ahead just marking where it says onto the template. That's where my strap placement is going to be. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my little piece of lining right here, or my batting, and I'm going to lay this onto my outer piece. Now if you want, you can take a little bit of basting spray and you can kind of hold it and secure it just a little bit. We might do that in just a second. All right, so now we're going to go over to the ironing station. We're going to give everything a really good press, and then we're going to start doing some sewing. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my handle piece, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to fold it in half, and we're going to do it like a little binding. We're going to fold it in half and then fold each end into itself. This is creating our handle or our strap. And do it to the other side. And once you've got it pressed, go ahead, fold it in, and then fold it over. And then give it a really good press right here. Because we're going to take this to the sewing machine and we're going to top stitch on each side. Now I'm going to grab my pocket and I'm going to give it a good press right there on that fold. Because we just had a little finger pressing there. I just wanted it to be a little bit heavier. And just giving it a good press. Because now we're going to also stitch right here. Now I'm going to grab my fabric that has the backing, or this is the back of it. That's going to be the main focal. I'm going to lay this down, match it all up. I'm going to grab my little bit of basting spray. You don't have to do this, but I'm just going to give it a couple little taps in here. It's just going to secure it just a little bit. It doesn't take much. Do it a little bit over here, just a couple of taps. And it's going to keep it all secure for when we do our big sewing all the way around. It's going to stay in place. All right, so that is all the components. So we're going to grab our elastic, we're going to grab our strap, and we're going to grab all of our pieces, and we're going to go to the sewing machine, and we're going to start doing all of our assembly. Grab my elastic, figure out where I put it. Here we go, got my elastic. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and stitch up our handle piece for us. So I'm going to go ahead and get this set on where I need it. And I'm going to do a nice little stitch, probably about a 3.5 to 4, and I'm just going to just do a stitch down both sides, about of 1/8 of an inch down. And that is all we needed to do on this. Grabbing my elastic, I'm going to go ahead. Now you can pin this, clip this, but I find it easier to just quickly baste it on there or just stitch it on there. So with your elastic, you're going to need about a 2.5-inch piece of the elastic. Now I'm going to go ahead and give this a clip. I only need 2.5 inches. I'm going to fold it in half. And then I'm going to place my raw ends right here at the spot that I marked for my elastic placement. And I'm just going to rotate around, having my raw ends right there on the edge of the fabric. Being careful not to twist it as I'm laying it down. And I'm just going to do a quick little basting stitch or just tacking it down. Elastic keeps trying to turn on me. There we go. Right there in that spot. Right where I have it marked. And I'm just going to do a quick little stitch about 1/8 of an inch edge from the edge. I need to make my stitches a little bit closer for that. And it's just securing it on there. So I have it about 1/8 of an inch because I want it to catch the rest of it in the 1/4 inch seam. Going to now the pocket piece, we're going to go ahead and baste our strap onto here. So I'm going to match up my raw edge and I'm going to put it right there. You can have it in between this marking or below the marking. I'm going to have that mark where it's going to kind of like be in the center. And I'm going to top stitch this right here or baste that there about 1/8 of an inch, just holding it in place. And then I'm going to go ahead and swing it around without twisting it and go to the other mark. And I'm going to have it centered in between that mark and we're going to baste it down right there on that spot. And while we got it right here in front of us, we can go ahead and top stitch 1/8 of an inch all the way down the edge. And I'm going to do that about 1/8 of an inch all the way down. Just gives it a nice little finish right there. All right, so this is complete. This is what you need to have done before we go to our final assembly. Having this little piece right here for our final assembly. So now all we do is we just line all of our pieces up, and you're going to need some clips for this. So I'm going to grab my clips and we're going to start lining up all of our pieces. You know what, let's do this at the main table so you can see it. So I have my lining face up right here. Lining is face up. Now I'm going to take my pocket and I'm going to line up my curves and match up my edges right onto here. Lining up everything and matching up all of my curves and all of my edges. I'm going to go ahead and stick a clip right here where I've got the strap is being holding it down, and I'm going to go ahead and put it where I've got the elastic being held down. And that's just kind of getting everything lined up here. And I'm going to go ahead and put a clip down here on this point. Now I also found if you take the time with your strap and just kind of fold it up out of your way and maybe put a pin in it to kind of keep it tucked down so it doesn't get cumbersome for you. And I found I just hold it down. I'm going to grab a pin. And we are going to put one little pin in there, and it's going to kind of hold it out of my way. Just remember that that pin's going to be in there, and you don't want to, when you go to flip it out, that pin, you know that pin is holding it down. So you pull that pin out first. I just put a single pin in just to kind of hold it down right here, so it doesn't get into the way of your sewing. So it's just pinning it right there. Now I'm going to take my piece, my piece that's going to be folded over for the flap, and now I'm going to flip it where now I put the right sides together and the batting side up. And then I'm going to line up everything. I'm going to reposition my clips to hold it. And then we have to find a spot for turning. So because we got a nice straight edge right here, I'm going to go ahead and make sure everything's lined up, and I'm going to put 2 clips that I like to use for the reds, so I know that's my starting and stopping. Doesn't have to be very big, maybe about 2 to 3 inches right there. So then we're going to sew all the way around. So I'm going to add a couple more clips in here so nothing shifts on you. I like to get a couple at the curve. And then get some right here along the bottom. There, now you have it all clipped. So all we're going to do is we're going to go back to the sewing machine and we're going to sew 1/4 inch, starting here, going all the way around, back tacking, and then going all the way around. And when I get to this point right here, we're going to stop and we're going to back tack. All right, so we're going to go to the sewing machine and get this done. Got my machine set at 1/4 inch seam allowance. Give yourself a back tack right here. So before you start clipping, just do a quick look all the way around, making sure everything is caught. Then you're going to get your scissors and your, if you want to trim away some of your excess, now would be the time to do it. I like to trim away this little bit right here of the bulk of the batting, so I just kind of trim it all the way around, get all that excess batting off. This is where I pull out my duckbill scissors for this, because when we do our little top stitching, that's going to take away some of that bulk for when we go to do our final top stitch all the way around. So I'm just going to trim away some of this excess batting. Get to where my opening is. I'm going to just trim straight across. A little stuck right there. Some places where it got a little bit of that basting spray on there. I tried to do most of the basting spray in the center because I know I like to trim away the excess material. Almost done. A little bit more to go right here. All right, so since we have some curves, we need to do some clipping. So I just go ahead and start clipping all around my curves. I'm probably going about a 1/2 inch all the way around. on these large curves. I don't really clip any of the straight areas, just the big curves. And then over here, I'm going to go ahead and trim away this excess material where it pivots and clip that curve also. Being careful to not clip your stitches. All right, once you have all of that done, now we're going to go ahead and turn it right side out. I'm going to grab my knitting needle because I like to push out everything with it. So you're going to find your opening. First thing you're going to do is you're going to look for your little pin that you had held your strap down. So you're going to feel for your strap where you had pinned it down. You're going to look for that first. When you feel it, then you're going to pull that pin out. I haven't found it yet, so give me a second. There it is. So I'm going to grab my pin and I'm going to pull that out. Get that out of my way. And then going inside, and we're just going to go ahead and turn it right side out. And pushing it through. And whatever tool that you like to use to push all of your edges out, I like to use the knitting needle. And I go in here and I start pushing and running my needle all along the sewed edges. Pushing everything out. Just give it a good push with running that needle all along the edges that you just sewed. There, we're almost done. Almost done. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to go back to the ironing station. I'm going to fold in my little seam right there, give it a good press, and then we're just going to top stitch it. And then we're going to work on where we're going to put our button. All right, let's go ahead and give this good press. Now don't get your iron too close to your elastic. It is elastic. It might melt it a little bit. If you're doing a snap gun, if you wanted to put snaps in it, then you wouldn't be worrying about the elastic at all. So now I'm just going to roll my opening in. Just kind of fold them in, line up my edges, and then press that. Once you get it nice and pressed, particularly that open, might be good to grab a clip and just kind of hold it so it stays in place, because that's where you're going to be stitching all the way around. You don't really want it shifting on you. You just created a nice little crease. So now all we have left to do is this top stitch all the way around. That's why trimming away some of that extra batting takes away some of that bulk that you're going to be fighting right here. All right, so now we're just going to give it a good top stitch. So I'm going to grab my my G-foot for this. Slide my needle all the way over. I'm going to use that guide that's in my G-foot to run my machine over that. And we're going to do about 1/8 of an inch going all the way around. And I'm going to start right here where our opening is. I'm actually going to start right back here where this stitching is for that top stitch right here, and then we're just going to go all the way around. I do like to bring my thread up for this. So I'm going to grab my thread, lower my foot, drop my needle down, bring it back up, pull my threads up so it doesn't create a little knot on the bottom. And then we're going to go ahead and start doing our top stitch all the way around. And I'm going to have my stitch length raised up. Get a quick little back tack right here, maybe just 1 or 2 stitches. And now we're going to go all the way around. It's a little thick when you're starting to go over the straps, but just let your machine just push it through. And coming back up to where we started. Clip your threads and you should be pretty much done. The only thing left is a couple of things. And the one thing is you got to get your button on here, but the other one is an optional thing. One of the things I found that really helps it in having it folded over is by putting a stitch right here at this edge. And I'm going to show you this one that's done so that you can see it. On this one right here, I'm going to have you get a close-up of this right here. I took this and I added this little stitch right here onto here. It doesn't really show up on the other side. It's such a narrow stitch. So what I did was I fold my flap inside my pocket. And then I'm just going to sew like 1/8 of an inch all the way down, starting at this point here and going all the way to this edge right here. What I found that did was it helped it with the folding over and staying more folded over versus this. So how I did that was I go back to the ironing station for this part so I can get it just right. So I'm going to take my flap and I'm going to fold it over, going to where it goes to the point here and up to where it's going to join here. And I'm going to kind of give it a press, heat it up just a little bit, fold it over, because I'm just going to stitch right here on this edge and I don't want to really catch the other side. So I'm going to fold this in. And I'm going to literally stitch right here on this very edge right here. And I found it just helps it a little bit better in the folding over. This is an optional. You don't have to put that stitch on there, but it just seemed to make it a little bit nicer. So going back to my station, I still have that little guide on there. And I still have it at a pretty large stitch length. So I'm going to start right there at the beginning. I'm going to start that over. I'm going to pull up my thread for this because I don't want it to gather all up. So I'm going to grab my thread. I'm going to drop my foot down. And I want my needle to come down right there at where that stitching starts showing. Right there on that edge. Holding my thread, drop my needle down, drop it back up. I'm going to go ahead and pull that thread up. Put it to the back. Now I'm just going to gently sew along that little edge there. Give it a little back tack right here. Like 1/8 of an inch or less. You're right there on that edge. barely catching it. You're not sewing at all onto the flap or the pocket. You're just sewing this part of the flap. And then do a back tack when you get to the other side. Now that's an extra stitch. You don't have to do it. It just seemed to help in the fold over just a little bit. Now your last thing you got to do is find out where your button is going to go. So here it is, all ready to go. And if I was to grab my scissors, where did I put them? Right here. You'll see that the 11 for this one is the 11. It's going to fit in here perfectly. You can't get a 12 in here, but an 11 fits perfectly. Folding it over, and I'm looking at where my button placement is going to be. And for me, it looks like it's going to be right here. So I'm going to kind of mark that. Like I would take a little marker, a little pen, mark that, and then I would just hand stitch my button on. If you're going to do snaps, then mark your snap placement and then put your snaps in. And that is how you put together the Martelli scissors pouch. How cute is that? Absolutely adorable. I hope you enjoyed this one. It was a lot of fun. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you some other things, some other ideas on how to put this together. I actually have several here that we have done, and I've done them in all the sizes. So those of you who are subscribers, if you really love this project and you have some scissors that are different sizes, we also have it where it fits the 8-inch scissors. I think I got my 8-inch right here. Yep, this is the 8. So here is one where I did with the 8-inch for the 8-inch scissors, slips right inside. And this one I actually have the snap on it. Super, super easy. The instructions work the same. Here's another 8-inch with a snap, but I didn't put a handle on this one. Here it is with a fun button. Here's with some fun fabric and a really fun button. All these are done with 8s. These were the beginnings. So here is the 9, and I've got my 9-inch scissors right here. And the 9 just slips right in. So this is the 9-inch. We have a 10-inch somewhere over here. Here is the 10-inch. And here is the 10-inch scissors. Slips right in. Using the buttons again. This one I believe is the 9, I think. Yep, here's another 8. Here's one where I did it with the 9. Here's that 9. And I changed where I had the backing, the main fabric also became the pocket fabric. So the lining's a little different. And we also have the 12-inch, the big guys. So I can stick the 12 inches in here. Fits nice and snug in here. But here's another idea. And it actually is less cutting and a little bit less work. However, you're having to put a bias binding strip on it. So if you was to take your 2 pieces of fabric and layer your batting in between your 2 pieces of fabric that you received, your fat quarters, and just go ahead and quilt it. And if you can see what I did with this one, I just did, I think, a 1/2-inch stitch all the way across one way, and then I cross-hatched it the other way. So my entire piece was completely sewn like this. So then you're only cutting out 2 pieces. So you're going to cut out, you're going to lay your main fabric down, you're going to have your lining side up, and you're going to lay your template on there, and you're going to cut out your piece, and then you're going to find a straight edge, and you're going to cut out your pocket piece because you're not having to sandwich anything. So you're literally just cutting the 2 pieces to be able to make this part, and then you still have to make your little strap, get your little strap made. And then you're going to go ahead and just sew it all the way around. Now you're going to have raw edges all the way around. So this is where you're going ahead and get some bias binding. You're going to need some bias binding. I actually used some that was in a package, already packaged. And I sewed the bias binding on. I did a simple little, I think I did the wave or the snake stitch, just a simple little wave stitch. I also did a little top stitch. I did sew that little stitch right here on this edge so it can fold it over just a little bit better. But this is where you just add a little bias binding on here to cover up all of your raw edges. So that one was a lot of fun, and it's nice and thick and cushy and very protective of your scissors. I believe this one here is the 12-inch one that I had made this with. So I'm going to grab my 12s, and they fit just snug as a bug in a rug right in here. I believe it's the 12. It could be the 11. Can't remember. Nope, this one is the 11. Sorry, it is the 11. So I'm going to pull my 11s in here. And I used the snap on this one. So I used our little snap gun. Martelli has the snaps, and just put the snaps. So I couldn't really do the button, couldn't do the button, the elastic because of the bias, but there you go. So that is some ideas for you on making the Martelli scissors pouch. I hope you enjoy making them as much as, have as much fun making them as I did. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye, everybody.